So what if you were told literally today that you would die within 3 months, and then you spend the next 3 months worrying about your inevitable death, and on top of that you try to get everything in order by saying your goodbyes, clearing everything off of your bucket list, doing things you've always wanted to do that you just never couldn't, etc. And when the 3 months, finally pass and you get to the date that you're supposedly going to die, you don't die. And then your doctor tells you you're not actually terminally ill, you're not going to die. And that is pretty much what happened to the main female character of this story called I Thought My Time Was Up. And this was a series that instantly caught my eye because the very, description of a character expecting themselves to die and then finding out that they're not going to die is such an interesting wake-up call for a character, and it's such a great way to just throw you into a story, because it's like, it gives a lot of reason to why a character that is very stagnant and doesn't change, or is living a lifestyle that is not allowing her to flourish and grow as a person, why she would be shoved out of that lifestyle and do things that would allow her to be forever changed and make herself happy. So, in the last 3 months, before the story even began, and we even get previews of what she was doing within the story, she was trying to make herself happy, do everything she could in her power to make herself happy for 3 months, and even doing things that maybe she would come to regret in the future. But the point is, she did all these things to write off things on her bucket list before she inevitably died. And I think that's a very powerful way to, like I said, to begin a story. So let's get into this. What's fully going on here? So, the story opens up with basically her finding out she's not terminally ill, and then her reaction to this information, and then we get the meeting that, how it actually happened. She was told that she was going to die thanks to excessive mana. And what this pretty much implies is that she was a very gifted individual from a very early age. She had a lot of mana within her body, and it only affects a very small percentage of the population within this world. And because of the excessive mana, eventually it would probably just crumble her body and kill her. And clearly, that did not happen. Now, there is some reasons for why this did not happen I'll talk about in a moment, but let's get the summary/description of the series out of the way first. So when she finds out this information that apparently she's going to die, she wants to basically meet a boyfriend. She wants to find someone that she could be with for at least 3 months, be happy for a little bit, be with someone, and then obviously die. Which in a way is very selfish and cruel, because it's like, what if she builds a very big bond with this individual for 3 months and then just straight up dies? She's going to leave this individual alone. So it's a pretty dark aspect to think about. Like, what if she would have died, so to speak, and then left the main male character alone? What could have happened, so to speak? But with that being said, though, she decides to seek out, a boyfriend. On top of that, she tries to put her feelings in order with her family, and this is her brother that you can see on the screen, literally dumping wine on top of her head, and it's a very disrespectful moment that happens early on in Chapter 1, pretty much showcasing her status within her own family, and why her lifestyle's been very stagnant. For instance, to give some context here, she as a character was someone that was just basically born to be used by her family and then sold off to another duke or something to be able to make her family wealthy. Come to find out later on that her family just does not love her whatsoever. They don't view her really as a person or as a daughter, and the only thing they really saw from her is a way for them to get money. She realizes this, and she's kicked out of the house. She leaves the said house and, cuts herself off from her family, which is a very interesting move, because usually these type of stories have it to where the family stays within the characters' life, but the fact that the characters do not stay in her life, and she never even tells them that she's going to die, is actually a very interesting narrative device that was used early on in this series. I don't know where that's going to go, obviously, in the future, because I'm not caught up with the series, and in fact, the series has 61 chapters currently, as you can see here, and I've only read about, 7 chapters at this point in time in me making this video. But the point of the matter is that she walks out of her family's life, because obviously they don't treat her right, she doesn't like them, they don't like her, and she just wants to do her own thing, so to speak, which is eventually how she winds up meeting, her actual boyfriend. So, we fast forward from these little chain of events and all that, we get a little bit more of a background on her magic capabilities and who she is as an individual. She is someone that is very gifted with magic. Obviously, she's dying from a magical disease, apparently, but obviously she didn't. But she has a lot of magic, and she is well-renowned for being, a very powerful witch, or her family line is well-renowned for being very powerful witches, and because of this, she is gifted. But her family being very awful, so to speak, and her brother very envious and jealous, did not allow her to learn magic. Like, she learned some here and there, but they basically stopped her from learning all the magic that, you know, she should have been taught and gifted. And so because of that, her magic knowledge is stunted. And I think it's very fascinating as well, is that even though she doesn't have as much knowledge as she should, she is still able to overpower her brother that is constantly having tutors, etc., teaching him magic by some of the best people within the world. So after this little event, you know, we get a little bit of a demonstration of her magic prowess. She beats her brother before she leaves, and then walks out. We never see him again. Then on her journey, she meets the Duke himself, the main male character of the story, the pretty boy prince, so to speak. He is someone that is a part of the most powerful family, and anyone that has read a few of these type of stories with like a duchess or a duke, you know for a fact that this is a typical theme. You have the most powerful person in the Empire Kingdom usually falls in love with the main female character. Nothing wrong with that. It's a common template. It's like a Sekai transported to another world type stuff. It just depends on how it's used. And in this case, the pretty boy here obviously comes off as a very dark, depressing, cold person. The stories and history behind him give that presentation as well. But the point to his character is that he's cursed. He actually has a curse that is literally rotting away his body and flesh, to where, like, every single day, his body will wither and rot, and he has to bandage himself up. You literally see bandages on his neck here actually covering it, but it's pretty much his entire body. His entire body is literally rotting, and he has to hide himself. And because he stinks so bad, he smells like death itself because of the curse, and one day, that curse is obviously going to take his life. And so, throughout his entire life, since the age of 7, when we get some of his backstory, he's been trying to find healers like purification witches, etc., that are willing to heal him. Obviously, he's been very unsuccessful. Those that he does find usually are, you know, disturbed or disgusted by him because he just smells and the curse just turns him away from him. And so, when he meets our main female character, she doesn't have that same reaction, and she actually, in fact, likes him. And she actually decides to get a contract with him. She heals him a little bit, and, you know, they have a mutual understanding, so to speak, which fast forwards into the contract, eventually turning into her wanting to date him, and she's basically doing a speedrun any percent for dating a duke within a story. I really appreciate it. It's really funny how forward she is as a character, because obviously she knows she's going to die literally in like 3 months, so she wants to get everything in order and live with no regrets whatsoever. It's really great. I like her character. She's a very straightforward character. She goes after what she wants, and I love how the motivation of literally her potential end has motivated her to be like this. She's just been so self-restrained for so long, she's just fighting for what she wants. It's really good. But, overall, very good start to this story. I wanted to recommend it because I discovered it, I started reading it. I've been a big fan of romance as of late, like really reading a lot of romance stories. I saw this in the romance tab, and I was like, you know what, I want to share it with all of you guys because I know there's a lot of you out there that do enjoy a good romance. But if you are interested in the series, then do give this series a checking out. I'll have a link to it in the description, and for complete transparency, when you do click on the link, it does help me out a lot with webtoon and stuff, so I would greatly appreciate it if you do click on the link as well. I really would. But with that, be safe, stay healthy, and I love all of you. Chibi out.